Dawn, August 480 BC, a Phocian sentry on a mountain pass hears wind through dry oak leaves. There is no wind. Through the mist he sees silver pomegranates glinting on spear butts. The immortals have outflanked the pass. To understand that dawn, we have to go back 2 days and ask why this defeat became legend. Thermopylae means hot gates, a coastal pass in central Greece. On one side, the cliffs of Mount Kallidromos, on the other, the Malian Gulf. Between them, in places, a strip barely wide enough for a single wagon. Xerxes of Persia marched south with an army ancient sources swelled into the millions. Modern estimates settle near 150,000. King Leonidas of Sparta blocked the pass with roughly 7,000 Greeks. Numerical odds meant nothing here. The terrain erased them. A huge army cannot deploy through a doorway. Whatever force met the Greek line had to fit inside the narrows and fight on Greek terms. The Greek soldier was a hoplite, named for his shield, the hoplon. His equipment, the panoply, was effectively an armored tank, bronze greaves on the shins, a cuirass of layered linen or bronze over the torso, a crested Corinthian helmet covering the whole head, but for a T-slit at the eyes, a bronze-faced wooden shield nearly a meter across, a 9-foot spear, iron-tipped, bronze-butted, a short sword as backup. The Persian line opposite carried wicker shields, cloth tunics, and spears 2 feet shorter. On open ground, Persian cavalry and archery could dismantle hoplites. Inside the narrows, cavalry was useless and arrows glanced off bronze. The matchup was catastrophic. The Greeks fought in the phalanx, from phalanges the finger bones interlocked. Men stood shoulder to shoulder, shields overlapping leftward. Each man's shield protected half of his own body and half of the man beside him. Cohesion was survival. Break the line and you died alone. Hold it and you became a single organism bristling with spear points. In Thermopylae's narrows, the phalanx stretched from cliff to sea. There were no flanks to turn. The Persians could only come straight on into a wall of bronze that extended spears twice as far as theirs did. Day 1. Xerxes sent Medes and Kissian infantry. They crashed into the wall and died in heaps, their short spears unable to reach Greek bodies. He sent his immortals, 10,000 elite spearmen. Same result. Day 2, Leonidas rotated contingents through the front line to keep them fresh and introduced a trick. On signal, the Greeks broke formation and ran. The Persians smelled victory and charged after them into the narrowest ground. Then the Greeks wheeled, reformed the wall, and slaughtered the pursuers in the press. Herodotus says Xerxes leapt from his throne 3 times in fear for his army. The system was holding. For 2 days, the system held. Then a man named Nightmare walked into Xerxes' tent. Ephialtes of Malis, his name in Greek literally means nightmare, sold his king a mountain. He knew a shepherd's track, the Anopaea pass that climbed over Kallidromos and descended behind the Greek position. For a reward in Persian gold, he would guide the immortals over it that night. No tactical system survives a compromised flank. The pass Leonidas had chosen because it could not be outflanked, could in fact be outflanked by anyone who knew the hills. Xerxes sent the immortals at dusk. The nightmare led the way. 1,000 Phocian Greeks guarded that pass. At dawn they heard rustling in the leaves, winds through dry oak they sought, until they saw the column. Silver pomegranates on spear butts, ornate robes, disciplined ranks. These were the immortals. The Phocians pulled back to higher ground, bracing for attack. The immortals ignored them and pressed downhill toward the pass. Offshore, an Athenian scout vessel saw Persian helmets emerging from the trees behind the Greek line and raced back with word. Leonidas now knew. By midday, he would be surrounded. The pass was already lost. What remained was the question of how to lose it. Leonidas could not save the pass. He could decide what his fall would mean. He dismissed roughly 6,000 allies to fight another day. He kept his 300 Spartans. 700 Thespians refused to leave. Their city would be burned for it. 400 Thebans stayed, possibly under duress. Several hundred helots, Spartan serfs armed, stayed too. The number who made the last stand was closer to 1,500 than 300. The Thespians chose death voluntarily. They deserve equal billing in the memory. What Leonidas built that morning was a rearguard and a legend. The final morning, the Greeks advanced beyond the wall into the open to sell their lives at the highest cost. Persian officers drove their own men forward with whips. Herodotus's detail, not ours. Spears shattered against bronze. The Greeks drew swords. Leonidas fell. And then the moment that anchors the story. His men would not abandon his body. They fought over it 4 times, pushed the Persians back 4 times, finally forming a ring around their king on a small hill. Spears gone, swords broken. Herodotus says they fought with hands and teeth. Persian arrows darkened the sky and buried them. The pass fell. The road into central Greece was open. Xerxes had his first great victory, and a very expensive one. Tactically, Thermopylae was a Persian win. Strategically, it became a Greek weapon. The old Spartan poet Tyrtaeus had written, "Plant your feet, hold your shield, never yield." At Thermopylae, that ethic walked out of the poem and into history. The lambda painted on Spartan shields for Lacedaemon, their homeland, became shorthand for defiance for 2,500 years. The Athenian scout ship turned east, carrying the news. The Persians would burn Athens within weeks. But the Greek fleet was waiting at Artemisium and Salamis. The war was not over. It was barely beginning.